Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
What is up, Tag Me In Bro universe? Happy Wednesday. I am recording here from sunny San Diego because I got to go home for a week, which is absolutely amazing, especially considering we had a little bit of a heartbreaker on Sunday. For those of you who do follow us on Twitter and who have been paying attention to the Tag Me In Bro universe and company, we lost our Raw show to John because he and Joe had a little bit of a challenge, and John then gave it up. So guys, it's so frustrating to not be in the same place while all of this is going on. But so Joe is, I guess, continuing the Raw show, and John is going to be launching an NXT show soon, and that is why you don't make bets on Twitter about professional wrestling. But we're gonna break down SmackDown Live. But if you want to follow along with the madness going on in this company, follow us on Twitter at TagMeInBro. You guys do not want to miss a single second of Tag Me In Bro content. We are updating and uploading stuff all the time. We have a fan prediction series. As you just heard, we're apparently launching a new NXT show, and we cover Raw and SmackDown every week. So go on Twitter, check us out, and follow us at Tag Me In Bro. And I hope you're ready for the show because it's about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are talking wrestling here at Tag Me In Bro. So if you're new to the show, the way it works is every week we will run down our SmackDown speed through of the most important bits of last night's show. Then we'll move on to our Hi to the People segment, where we want to engage with you guys to find out more about your views on a certain topic that week. Then we'll move on to our main event, where we'll discuss the question on everyone's mind that week, and then we will move on to our stars of the night. So this week, the question on everyone's mind is going to be, does The Miz deserve a run as the WWE champion? But we'll get to that much later in the show. And now we're going to get straight to our SmackDown speed through. Woo! Here are the only 5 things you need to know about SmackDown Live this week. Number 5, Becky Lynch is the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. Number 4, we're going to see the New Day versus The Bar in Australia. Number 3, there will be a number 1 contenders match at the Super Showdown between The Miz and Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. Number 2, Andrade Almas versus AJ Styles. And number 1, Aiden English turns on Rusev. Okay, so starting at number 5, this was actually the last big chunky segment to close out SmackDown Live. Becky Lynch had her coronation because after 2 long years, she is finally once again the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. And I think that this segment had a lot of amazing character development. I'm still not sure why Becky is the heel. I think they really missed an opportunity for a double turn at Hell in a Cell, where I think that they were really poised to post-match. I wasn't expecting Becky to win, and I think that post-match, they were very much so poised for, in the midst of her getting cheered for this victory, have Charlotte become that bitter heel who's used to being the best and who's always, praised as being the best, and it just felt like it would have fit so smoothly and been such an elegant exit from this weird kind of heel-face dynamic they've got going on right now. Really strange. But I think that at least if they're going to keep going with this angle, they made it really clear that Becky's MO is that she was like, you were full of it. You're not actually as humble as you say you are. You're not actually as happy for me as you say you are. You're not really my friend. And Charlotte is doing a good job of portraying that kind of, I'm trying to take the bigger, I'm trying to be the bigger person and take the high road, but I'm really torn, and this is really hard for me because I'm very proud. So at least I feel like those character lines were driven home and we know who they are, whereas in the past couple of weeks that's felt a little I don't know, a little jumbled up. But I was happy to see SmackDown Live end with the disarmor and Becky Lynch as champion. That's how the show ended. And I'm happy to see the belt back on Becky. Hopefully for quite a while. Number 4, we have the announcement that the New Day will face the Bar in Australia for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. The New Day had like their promo where they pretended to be Australian. There's some bad accents going on, but really where this came to play was in the match that was Kofi Kingston versus Cesaro. Quite a short match, but a really good match. A match I'd love to see go on for a lot longer with these two competitors. I think they're both two of the most athletic men on the SmackDown Live roster right now. They're incredibly versatile, and we don't get to see them in singles competition particularly often. Cesaro won, which I think was a great move storyline-wise because it really validates the Bar's claim as the challengers for this championship. Because when you think about it, on SmackDown, we've had, in the past 2 pay-per-views, just weeks of tournament play between the tag teams in this quest to find the number 1 contender. And this really, really fast turnaround, this massively, a literal 1 week instant turnaround from it being Rusev Day to it being the Bar, especially when the Bar was the last team, I suppose, in the last round of the tag tournament prior to Hell in a Cell. I think it felt a little given to them. Like it was a little like, well, and the Bar is going to face them. So I think Cesaro getting this win really helps at least validate their claim for this title. But yeah, I thought it was good. It's going to be a really interesting match in Australia. I think we very well may see a title change. You never know. Number 3, speaking of number 1 contenders, it was announced in the opening segment during Miz TV that The Miz and Daniel Bryan are having a number 1 contenders match at Super Showdown in Australia to see who will be the number 1 contender to either AJ Styles or Samoa Joe's WWE Championship. How incredible. We are segueing so quickly post Hell in a Cell, and I do think that the addition of the Super Showdown pay-per-view is what's causing these really fast storyline changes. But honestly, I kind of think it's the best thing for the company. I think it's keeping them moving in the right direction and getting to things, we always talk about as fans, I feel like how sometimes we just hope they don't wait too late to pull the trigger. And I think Daniel Bryan and The Miz has been going very well, but I think we were all a little nervous that they were going to drag it on and drag it in such a way that didn't feel like we were ambling toward anything important. And I think we are sticking right on the money, especially with this move. I think it was great that they brought Maurice onto Miz TV as the special guest. She is great on the mic. She also announced that she won't be around for a while. So I think I'm sad to see her go, happy to see her go on a win. But I think it produces that really clear picture of it's going to be The Miz and Daniel Bryan. We're not adding, it's not going to be just some DQs. It's not going to be this addition of your wives that allows the storyline to continue. It's going to be mano y mano. And for the biggest title in the company, which I think is an amazing, amazing standpoint. My only kind of issue with this whole segment and how this was announced and how everything went down is that, The Miz kind of called out Daniel Bryan and they brawled because Bryan's always up for that fight. And when they kind of brawled the first time if you've seen in past episodes, The Miz is kind of accidentally hit like Brie Bella, like he's pulled her off of a tag once or twice and different things, and he always feels so bad about it. And I kind of had that situation reversed where Daniel Bryan like kicked The Miz into Maurice and felt so bad about it. But then he did it again, and he kind of stood tall at the end. And I just don't feel like Daniel Bryan needs to stand tall at this point. I get that he's coming off of a loss at Hell in a Cell, but with him standing tall at the end, it felt like a weird victory. It didn't feel like a Daniel Bryan victory, especially when it was so set up that, it was kind of set up that The Miz was going to have the skull-crushing finale, and the whole segment was based in this very heelish, knowing, very contrived setting of like they had planned it. Maurice played possum. It was this great moment. And then for Daniel Bryan to stand tall, I get it. It's the babyface kind of, figuring it out and besting the best, but it didn't feel like the right moment. And maybe that's just me. It's me being very nitpicky, but I thought it was worth mentioning. But very excited for their match at Super Showdown. Number 2, we have Almas versus AJ Styles in what a barn burner. Like, it didn't lasts for the amount of time I would normally say, like, this is a crazy great thing. But for SmackDown Live TV, this was a great match between two amazing competitors. What an insane opportunity for Andrade to have like this chance to go up against the WWE champion, to put on a great match. I think they're building him so well, which I think is so important, because obviously we've seen quite a bit of NXT talent totally wasted on the main roster, and I think that they are building Andrade like so impeccably. Zelina Vega still gets to be there as his advocate. He's having important matches with excellent competitors. This, to top it all off, was amazing, and a great way to keep AJ strong, because AJ Styles did end up, winning the match, standing tall at the end, and then he got beat by Samoa Joe. It was, every segment felt right. It felt right. It felt perfect. Samoa Joe played the great heel. We know that their feud is continuing, which I hope it doesn't continue for that much longer, just because I'm not entirely sure that Samoa Joe will end up taking the championship from AJ Styles, and if that's the case, I don't want to see him continually beat so many times, because I think he is one of the strongest, if not the strongest heel on SmackDown Live. But an amazing segment, I thought really stood out as one of the most well-planned and best segments on a really good episode of SmackDown. And number one, the moment we have been waiting for months, Aiden English turns on Rusev. So the match was Nakamura versus Rusev. Nakamura being the US champion still, even though, does that belt even exist on this show? Deeply unclear. But Aiden English was on the side. He had a mic, which I thought was very cool, but he was like hyping the crowd. And then he like distracted Rusev, and Rusev lost. Nakamura got the roll up or whatever. And then Aiden English like snapped and turned on Rusev and beat him up. And why? What? For a moment, I think we were all so hyped up for, and a moment that we'd all been waiting for to happen and predicting when and speculating, and I think it was very in all of our hearts and we were ready for it. I just think they kind of bungled it. I do. I think that it doesn't make sense in that context. Like, it shows just how important these matches and this booking can be in those moments, because I don't think any of us would have questioned that Aiden English was going to be the heel. But in that moment, it felt like Rusev had such a greater reason to turn on Aiden English, and I think that Rusev could have turned on Aiden English and still been the babyface, the same way that Bayley, during the first women's like battle royale, like turned on Sasha and still got cheered, the way that Becky has turned on Charlotte and still gotten cheered. I think that faces have that ability when it looks like they're standing up for themselves, and I think in that moment it would have been clear that Rusev was like, I don't need you. You keep costing me these opportunities. I keep forgiving you. I don't need you. And to turn on Aiden, but for Aiden English to turn on Rusev, I think was really confusing. I don't think he had the right to, and I don't think he had the right to in a way where everyone then booed him and was like, like, you bastard, like, this isn't your moment, this is his moment. It was kind of like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, you wanted him to win, he lost because of you, and now you're upset? Like, how does that feed into the Aiden English we've seen for weeks, who, when he has cost Rusev opportunities, has been so apologetic and so remorseful and trying to get back in good with it. And I also think it really downplays the role that Lana has potentially played in this, where Lana was so kind of pivotal to sowing these seeds of the breakup. And because she really hasn't been there, or not hasn't been there, but because like she wasn't in that match, in that moment, she was in the segment beforehand, and I really thought that was gonna lend itself to this breakup, and it really hasn't. And I think giving Aiden this moment really kind of ruined that. It kind of, I think, it knocked down a card tower at the very, very top when it had been built so well. So a little disappointing, but that breakup does mean that I think we will be seeing Rusev and Aiden English in the very near future, which I still think will be an exciting match. I think it'll be good. I just hope that they tell the story in a way that makes more sense to us, that feels a little more intuitive to the way that they were going with it. But I still think, because we've been waiting for so long, and because I didn't necessarily think it would happen just this week, that is our number one moment from SmackDown Live, and it concludes our SmackDown Live speed through. I thought it was a really good episode. I thought it was a solid episode, a lot of storytelling, a lot of forward movement in terms of story progression and character progression, which I think is so important. So I thought it was a great episode. I want to hear what you guys think. There were a lot of little bits in between we didn't get to cover because they didn't stand out the most. But if you think we missed something, if you agree, if you disagree, if you loved or hated the episode, tweet at us at @tagmeinbro. Let us know your thoughts on social media. And speaking of social media, it is time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on who in Rusev Day should have been the heel. Should it have been Aiden? Should it have been Rusev? Or should it have been Lana? So go on Twitter at @tagmeimpro, vote, comment, let us know your thoughts. And every week we read out some of our favorite comments. So make sure you comment and maybe have your thoughts read out on the show. Speaking of having your thoughts read out, we're going to talk about the results of last week's topic, where last week we had a little bit of fun on Hi to the People, and we wanted to know who you thought would be the winner of WrestleMania 60 in the main event, Birdie Joe Danielson versus Monroe Sky Mizanin. And let me tell you guys, this was a really close one, and it was a really close one all week, which is great. And at the end of the day, with 53% of the vote, we had Baby Birdie Joe. So you guys root for the babyface. It's fair. It's a Mania. Babyface should go over and win. Our favorite comment, I think, from the night, we had a little bit of play back and forth about their parents. Somebody was like, oh, maybe Birdie's at a disadvantage because she only has one champion parent, only to be casually reminded that Brie Bella is in fact also a champion. But I think my favorite comment was from the Viper # Team Rosemary, who said, in my opinion, Birdie and Monroe are going to be a tag team, and one day the women's tag team champions, and they'll just tell their parents to shut up. This is my favorite comment because, as per, I am still waiting for the women's tag team championships to be announced, and I think that Baby Birdie Joe and Monroe Sky as tag champions would be a fabulous and fitting ending to these second generation WWE wrestlers, and probably second gen champions as well. Perhaps a new stable, you never know. But we had a lot of fun with that last week. Thank you guys for voting. And so now this week, go on Tag Me In Bro and vote for who you think in Rusev Day should have turned heel and broken up the crew. But more on that next week. And now it's time for our main event. This week on our main event, we are going to be talking about whether or not The Miz deserves a run as the WWE champion. Now, because I am recording from home this week, I am doing the main event by myself, so you just have little old me. But bear with, because I think we have some really interesting points to bring up. So this was kind of contrived from the fact that they announced on Miz TV on SmackDown Live this week that The Miz and Daniel Bryan at Super Showdown are going to be having a match to see who will be the #1 contender. Now, to do this, we first have to kind of start by analyzing who we think is going to leave Super Showdown as the WWE champion. And I guess I'll just throw it out there right now. As of today, the week after Hell in a Cell, I think it's still going to be AJ Styles. And I'm saying this with my head and not my heart, because, you know, he would be the champ in my heart always, but I want it to be known that, like, in the analysis of this, I really think that Samoa Joe is the kind of person who needs to win on his first attempt. I think that in a show like Super Showdown, they're going to want the cheers to be solid cheers and the boos to be solid boos. So I don't think they're going to see that giant title change. I think it was also a really big deal that AJ was the first person to win the title overseas. I don't think they're going to throw that so flippantly by having him also lose it overseas. I think if AJ Styles loses the championship, they're going to want it in America on a big pay-per-view that makes sense, that they know there's going to be eyes on, and that they've been able to build adequately. So I think that this rematch, we're going to see AJ leave as the champion. That being said, it becomes who will be the #1 contender to AJ Styles championship. Now, I think that The Miz and Daniel Bryan still both have a really big claim on this. Like, I don't think it's clear cut that it's going to be face or heel face. But what I think in this moment is my vote is for The Miz. And I think that the reason is because I know Daniel Bryan's lost a lot recently. Just in the sense of, they went to Hell in a Cell. The Miz picked up the win. I certainly thought it was going to be Brie and Bryan, and it was not. And I think that going into that, like seeing him stand tall on this week's episode of SmackDown, I think they're aware that he's lost a bit. But I think that Daniel Bryan is like Johnny Gargano and does not need to win to still be a super over babyface. He can chase the title for as long as he wants to. And I also don't think it would be smart of the WWE booking and creative team to put Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles in this match at this time. I think they will without a doubt, certainly both be on the Survivor Series team representing SmackDown Live. I don't think you want to have those two people competing, and I don't think it makes sense in their characters to have them compete against each other. So that leaves The Miz, who is my pick. And I think one of the big questions is is now the right time? Does he deserve a run as the WWE champion right now? And a little part of me says, is this the trigger we've been waiting for them to pull this whole time? How many weeks? And I thought back on this. We've been doing the show, which is amazing, for about like 9 months. And for the past 9 months, I remember so many weeks, like there's been a bulk of time where we've been saying The Miz is the best on the mic. The Miz is one of the best heels working today. The Miz can drive storyline like no other. The Miz can create a feud like no other. There was a while where when we weren't even seeing the championships on television or we weren't seeing the best things represented, The Miz was driving other people's feuds. He was hosting other people's feuds. He was stirring the pot where he didn't belong. The Miz has been the top heel, I think, on SmackDown Live for a long time. In-ring ability aside, and I do think he's a great in-ring performer, but I know there's some who would say, oh, Samoa Joe's, in-ring style is better, or you might even look at a Rusev, you might even look at some of the heel tag teams, you might look at an Andrade who's fresh, or Samoa Joe, or a Shinsuke Nakamura heel turn, and say, oh, these are great heel moments, but the most consistent working heel, I feel like, in the WWE, especially on the SmackDown Live brand, for arguably a full year, has been The Miz. And when you look at that, you say, who as a heel is more deserving of that championship or of that opportunity to take that championship? I kind of think it is him. I think that if they build this correctly, that makes sense. Also, who besides The Miz would have the gall and the audacity to claim that they deserve this opportunity against the longest reigning champ in 5 years, somebody that I do think they're aiming to have break CM Punk's record again. Sorry, Brock. But I think The Miz is that person, is the person to step up with that enthusiasm. And honestly, with that claim, who has run it more? It's the house that AJ Styles built, but The Miz has been there almost every second. AJ hasn't traded to Raw, and we've seen The Miz be on Raw, and then we've seen The Miz on SmackDown. But to say that The Miz has not been an absolute staple of SmackDown Live every single week, I think would be pretty foolish. And so when you look at it, you say, I think in this quest for who is worthy for this championship, it absolutely has to be The Miz. I also think that if The Miz wins, if The Miz is the person to take this championship from AJ Styles, not only do you still get to play up the idea that, AJ is one of the best technical wrestlers in this business, and The Miz has that, quote unquote WWE style. I think it all works. AJ is so willing to be that family man and the face of this company and the loyal and true. The Miz is the cowardly heel. Is there a better opportunity than this for them to go up against each other? And I think a match like that at Survivor Series, even at the Rumble, sets up so much more importantly a potential Mania feud between The Miz and Daniel Bryan to segue The Miz and Daniel Bryan into that moment and that feud where their feud really gets to be this spotlight over the top belt, which I know we've all wanted it to be and have hoped it would transition into. For that to happen, I don't think it can be a face-to-face Legends match, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. We'll get there, and I think it's okay that we'll get there, but I really do think that right now is the time for The Miz to challenge and take that championship from AJ Styles. And I didn't think I'd ever be ready for anyone to take that championship from AJ Styles. And I think with The Miz, we've really got something. I think we've really got the potential for a powerful, incredible feud, and one that will rival Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, which I think has been AJ's best feud as a champion thus far, probably. So I think that is the conclusion kind of my main event that says, yes. Not ironically, yes. But that's, yes, The Miz does deserve this run as the WWE champion, and thus, I really hope he wins this #1 contenders match. Again, we'll see. Feel free to disagree with me. You probably do, but tweet at us, let us know your opinions. And until then, let's get to our stars of the night.
You just made the list!
This week for our stars of the night, we're starting with number 3, my girl, the SmackDown Live Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. So amazing to get to see SmackDown Live end with the Disarmer and Becky as champion. She has fought her way to this point, and I'm excited to see how she evolves the championship and this character in the future. Number 2, Cesaro. Cesaro for picking up the win against Kofi in a great match that I honestly wish would have been longer. I think he is one of the most versatile superstars on the roster today, and I think his work with Sheamus only shows that he can work basically anywhere with anyone as a singles competitor or as a tag team member. And our number one star of the night is Andrade Cien Almas. Andrade for putting on a killer match with the WWE champion AJ Styles, for getting to week after week not only prove his worth in the WWE, but make his mark, to show himself on television, to win over this crowd in a way that shows that he is worthy of these title opportunities that he will hopefully be grabbed in the future, to have Zelina Vega by his side. I think he is maximizing every moment that he's given as an NXT transition to the main roster, and I think he's killing game. Matches like this prove that he is one of the best in the business, and that his time on the main roster will hopefully be absolutely capitalized upon. So congrats, Andrade. You deserve it. That's going to do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. I've been Taryn. I'm sure Tommy missed you guys this week, and you will definitely hear from us next week. Tommy is still your Tag Me In Bro champion. So go on our Twitter and find his review of Hell in a Cell that he's done. It is absolutely amazing. Check out our Raw episode. Check out SmackDown every week. That's where you get to hear me, Taryn, and let's all prep for this new NXT show, am I right? Okay, so go on Twitter, follow us at Tag Me In Bro. If you like the show, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And we'll see you next week for another episode of SmackDown Live. Bye, universe!